All right. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. I am here with Chris Beauchamp, and I'm always trying to say your name wrong, so I hope I got it right this time. So today we get to talk about being more client centric with, how to know if you're client centric, how to fix it if you're not, and a few other tips and tricks for you. So Chris Beauchamp is an experienced personal, organizational, and revenue growth coach with a blended experience in marketing, branding, coaching, and professional development. So has a lot of the really good stuff here. He's hired by professionals with a large ambition and large ambitions to generate revenue and results and that outperform themselves and others if I can talk here, by learning the top the top 1% leadership and business development skills. And a fun fact about Chris is he also coaches in his second language, which is Spanish, and coaches people in Mexico and South America as well as the US. So lots of fun there. So Chris, why don't we start by telling us how can you tell if a client that you've just started working with is client centric or not?
Mm. And I'd love to listen the answers from anybody that might be listening in if we have some folks on. But Nicole, I'm be really curious to hear your responses as well. And thank you for having me on. I think how do you tell if a client is in fact client centric? Well, I'll first start off with they're listening. In fact, in a conversation, do they start off by listening?
Mm-hmm.
So if you notice that somebody is speaking first or speaking a lot, they talk about themselves, what they do, how they help, that's usually the biggest and easiest giveaway to being client centric or not. So I don't know if that helps answer that question from a kind of a higher level, if you will.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. Listening is, oh my gosh, it's so huge. And I know we've talked a little bit. You would ask me the same thing, but like listening is 100% part of marketing. If I talk to someone and they aren't listening to their clients, I know we have a much harder time getting to the right answers on what we need to do with their marketing. Because if they're not listening, they haven't ever talked to their clients. They're just out in their own little island thinking that they're in a bubble, but yet they're in this. They work with these people, these active clients that have thoughts and needs, and they
That,
probably aren't serving them as well as they could be. So, yeah.
isn't that fascinating though too? Because it happens in your space too, in marketing.
Hmm.
Sometimes before we even get to the face-to-face conversation.
Hmm.
So you're working with clients too and helping them see whether or not they are client centric or not.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. If they're not, we have a lot of work to do because I mean, we need to be if we want our marketing to be as good as it possibly can, we need to know what the clients really want and actually talk to them, be focused on the client.
Go figure, right?
Yeah, yeah, funny. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so how would someone who is feeling client centric, like they think their organization is client centric, but they don't know if it's really client centric enough. How how would they know if it's not a client centric enough?
It's a great question. And sometimes, Nicole, what I find is that people may, if they're in that question, they don't know, they may not in fact be client centric. But
Hmm.
on the other hand, it's also, I think that's a beautiful question to be in. Just
Hmm.
to reflect on just how client centric am I? And it's one that I continue to reflect on. Well, a couple things that I would offer is talk to your clients, listen. Again, I keep on harping on on listening, but from their perspective, how client centric do they feel you are?
Hmm.
Now, they may not reveal everything, but you can also go to the facts or the evidence in the ways that you observe yourself or as an organization. And that I would say ties to your outcomes. So if you're saying, okay, how much business have we been able to close? Well, if you're closing, say 20, 30%, maybe not. For some organizations, 40 or 50%, we're starting to hear more of an average about 47% are closing business, which means that 50% is or over is being left on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And some chalk it up to like, okay, sometimes there's just not a fit, but is there? Maybe there's an opportunity to be more client-centric, to be a better listener, to be of service to your clients. And you can look at other things like how well do we retain clients? How long does it take to acquire a new client? Are they actually a perfect fit? So I would invite the questions that will help reveal the answers of whether or not you're client-centric or not. Those are some examples. What
Yeah.
about you? What do you find? How would you tell from a marketing perspective if you'd add anything here?
Yeah, no, what you said, if you think that maybe you aren't, that's telling, because yeah, if the people that are really client centric is, we talk to our people, we interview them, we poll them, we ask them every time we talk to them, we have someone calling them, like they know that they are. So if you're starting to question it, you might not be. If you have like a low level person that calls and interviews your people, and they have three questions to ask if they're satisfied, not, what we could do better, like if they're not digging in, if they're not high enough level, if they're not experienced to know, then you're probably not asking them really good questions. You're not trying to get the information. You're just trying to tick the box saying that you actually talked to them. Like, if
Mm,
your whole organization is wrapped around the client and what their experience is with your business and how to optimize that experience, then you probably aren't as good with the client centric business as you think you are, or as you'd like to be. I know we as business owners all want to be as client centric as we possibly can be. And um, you know, we see that in marketing, and it's important in marketing. You think that with marketing, you're only trying to get leads coming in, but if you're not caring about what they are caring about, if you're not talking about what they care about, if you're not providing the solutions that they need and that they're looking for, and you're not talking about the problems that are the issues, then they're not going to resonate with you. They're not going to want to sign with you. They're not going to want to click the button that says, yes, this is the person that I want to schedule a meeting with. So making sure that every point that you could possibly talk about them, you're talking about them, you have an opportunity to do better. And that's, like you said, Chris, a great place to be, because you have an easy opportunity for improvement. So, yeah.
mm, yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so Chris, what advice would you give people if they're in a place where they're like, yeah, I feel like I could do better, but I don't really know what I should start doing, or I don't know where to start looking first, or what's an idea someone could start doing to improve how they are client centric?
Mm, yeah, that's a great question. And for me, honestly, Nicole, I'm in that constant question because I'm forever a learner,
Aren't
right?
we all though? Like, aren't we all trying to
Yeah,
constantly improve that? So yeah, it's a question that
it's
helps
fun.
everyone.
It's fun. It's growth. And
Mhm,
some new learning sometimes challenges our existing ways of thinking, and sometimes it confirms, hey, we're actually on a good path here.
mhm.
So, but a few of the things, and this is just a few. This is not to say that it's the full extensive list, and it's a perspective. But one place I would start, and again, I'm harping on this, but I would start with listening. Start practicing your listening skills. So, how do you start practicing your listening skills? Here's a few things that I would offer for people when clients or a prospect are sharing things with you. A tendency for some professionals is they start going into their head. They're like, but I heard this little nugget. I can tell them how I can help, or what I would do in this particular case, or we've dealt with that, right? Instead, ask them a question about what they're sharing. This is the gold that they're giving you. They're serving it up on a platter for you.
Mhm.
So when you go over to somebody's house and they're serving burgers, you don't turn around and ask for pizza. So if somebody's serving up an answer that's rich and there's meaning there, there's impact, there's relevance, they're offering some bit of context, ask about that. Now that's one approach.
Yeah,
It's just to
that's huge.
ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes people get a little paralyzed by what do I ask, right? You ever notice in a conversation though, when there's that slight little pause and it kind of starts to make people feel a little bit uncomfortable because like other people don't like the silence, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes with clients, they offer that little pause to see if you're going to interject or add something to actually see if you're still listening.
Mm-hmm.
So just hold off and don't say anything. Continue to listen. They'll reveal more.
Yeah.
This also shows up as client centric. Now, there's a third piece to the listening that I'll offer, and there's two other pieces that I'll offer here as well. But with the listening piece, practice this with your team. Do this as an exercise internally where somebody shares something and each of you write down your own listening of what has been said. I would include gestures, facial gestures, body posture or body disposition, the mood. What's the energy of their conversation? What do they really mean with what they said? And have
Mm-hmm.
everybody write down what their listening is. And then after that, share what those answers are so that you're not waiting for somebody to influence you. Take what you've written and you share what you've listened. What it does is it helps reveal the listener you are and that others are, and maybe some opportunities to develop your listening in different ways.
Yeah. That's a fantastic piece of advice right there. I love that.
Cool. Yeah. So, a couple other nuggets that I would offer for client centricity, and this is something I did not know, and this is a big breakdown for a lot of people in business development is they make the offer too early, and so one of the things that you can do is ask if somebody wants help before offering help.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a caveat to this. You need to uncover or unpack in a way that's authentic with people what's going on for them. So there's several points here that I'll lay out here, and it's not to say it's everything, and kind of just touch on this at a high level. But you need to understand their current situation. You need to understand where they want to go, the results that they are committed to produce, by when they need to produce that, and what is important about that date. They also need to understand, you also need to understand what are their conditions of satisfaction or their criteria for those results, but also their criteria for working with you. And then the kind of the kicker is what do they already have in place? What resources do they have to take care of that result? Sometimes they're in breakdown, but
Mm-hmm.
do they have what they need to take care of that? Because sometimes people start offering things that are already taken care of or taken care of in part. So ask if when you get to that point, ask, is this something that you'd like help with? Like it sounds like you have some things covered, but maybe not everything covered.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this is important. Is this something that you want help with? Is this something you want to talk about a little bit further? It's a great move for people to feel really listened and appreciated and not trying to just march forward with solutions. So
Yeah.
offer, get off the solution. So that's another piece. And then the last piece I would offer is around promises. Now, people are going to say, like, promises? What are you talking about related to business development and being client centric? If you are making and managing promises with your clients,
Yep.
it is completely changing the world and the relationship you have with them because most other vendors or firms are not doing that. They're not making promises. Now, people say, well, but we can't promise. We don't always know. Of course, the world happens, breakdowns happen, things show up unexpectedly. And it's our level of professionalism to manage in the moment and proactively to say, hey, a promise is in jeopardy. And we are going to take care of this ahead of time. Before that due date, we're going to reach out to the client. We're going to be in conversation about what's going on so that we are both taking care of the client and the relationship, and you're taking care of your identity in that sense. So those are the three areas that I would offer is the listening, asking for permission, asking, if they'd like help, and then looking at the promises that you're making and managing.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's great. And, just one of the fun things that popped up in my head is, some people don't always know the right question to ask. And if that little pause becomes a little bit longer and you're a little stressed out about what question to ask, I always love the question, tell me more about that. Um, it's a statement, but get them talking more, because I mean, that's what we want. We want to hear what their challenges are. And I love, that you're asking if it's something they even want to talk about. We get into sales situations where we try and do, what we were taught, and most of that stuff is from the 80s or before, and people are done with that. Now we want to just have conversations. We want to feel like we're being listened to as a consumer or a customer or a client. We want to know that they hear us. And so people appreciate that more from our standpoint as the salespeople, or, the business owner. We just want someone, we want to have a conversation. We want to make them feel comfortable. So, it's a win-win for everyone if we can have a conversation, and that's so huge. And then I love the promises. I think that's great. A lot of people think um, sales is just, that's the best of the organization I'm going to see. But if we make those promises and keep them, that's how we get reoccurring clients, reoccurring revenue, clients to return, and then be advocates for us. I mean, that's a big thing in marketing. We want little advocates out there really talking about the business and how great we are. And if we're not following through on those promises, and we always say over deliver, under promise, over deliver, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to decide that we're going to just not promise anything and then they'll be happy in the end. But we really want to establish our credibility in that first call or that first message. We stand for something and we over deliver upon that. So if there's really nothing that you can promise and still over deliver on, might be time to talk to Chris about looking at what you're doing organization wise, so that you can make sure that you are still delivering more and still can make a promise, because the promise is huge. I mean, that's what people are looking for. And if you can't even make a promise in the sales calls, then they're not going to expect anything and they're going to go with someone else. So it's really huge to have a promise. So yeah.
And Nicole, I would imagine almost you can speak to this better than I, but the same shows up in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yeah.
can't promise in the marketing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or that it is listened by your audience, that there's a promise there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's huge. And we want to align our marketing with what we're saying and doing so that we can be authentic. I mean, really, consumers, business, doing B2B sales, your end user, the person, your point of contact, they are looking for an authentic company, because they know that they can trust an authentic company, even if they're not maybe the best or the strongest. If they're authentic, they know they can trust you. And we know how important trust is. So being authentic and being able to align your marketing to your organization makes you more authentic. And so that's important. So making sure that you're saying what you do and doing what you say, pretty easy. Simple things, hard to achieve sometimes. So
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
So, Chris, if anyone has any questions, we'd love to hear them now. But if you have a question later and want to get a hold of Chris, how's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, let's see. Do we have a chat in here, or is a way that we can throw this up? I can just say it otherwise, but
Yeah,
this
I'll put a comment on it, but I think there's a chat. There's like a little chat bubble button, but I think it comes up at
it's
like,
private chat, but yeah.
okay. Yeah.
And other guests. Okay, yeah. So let's just do this. This is my first time doing LinkedIn Live, but yes, I would say reach out to me at chris.beauchamp@theclientschool.com. So that's going to be a lot, I know. My last name is Beauchamp. So it's Chris, CHRIS.Beauchamp@theclientschool.com. And yeah, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what's going on with you. A couple of things we have coming up. We do have for folks who typically we work with organizations and their teams, but we do have a public version for individuals coming up March 11th. If people are like, hey, this is relevant, I'm ambitious. I'm looking to grow myself and my revenue or income, but I don't have necessarily a sales team. That might be an option. If you just want to have a conversation, we can do so. We even offer a little self-assessment that we do that covers 30 skills that most people aren't really aware of. That it's quite different. So complimentary, we can just chat it out and give you some things to think about in your business development, whether we choose to work together or not. So I'll offer that as well. So if we can offer, I don't know, Nicole, if we can offer up my email or I can type it in somehow, but happy to reach out to me. Look for me on LinkedIn. I'm there. Happy to connect with you there. Again, Chris Beauchamp, and that's Beauchamp. And how about for you, Nicole? Like, what else is coming up for you? How do people get in touch with you if they're looking to advance their marketing strategy?
Yeah, that little QR code at the top of the screen there is actually a way to schedule a meeting with me. But glovermarketing.com is the website, so we can always chat. But yeah, so I love talking about marketing, so we can just have a chat.
Let's do it.
Here soon, we're going to be starting mini masterminds too, so people can really work on their marketing a little bit. And we hash out some things and give you guys advice and lots of cool things. So cool things coming down the pipeline, I guess we could say.
Yeah, when are you thinking about getting that going?
Oh, I actually have to get it going first. Yeah, so I have to, had pneumonia, so I'm a little behind on things right now. So
Good.
yeah, but hopefully next month we'll get something going. So but we'll let you know as soon as I have something. I'll let everyone know. But yeah, so Chris, thank you for being a guest today. I'm working on getting guests to stop by on Tuesdays to really talk about what they're doing and how they're working with clients. So Chris, you're my second guest. First time we've probably had a successful start to it. Last time we didn't have a successful start. So slowly learning here. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining and sharing your wisdom and talking about how people can really be more successful in their businesses and do all the amazing things that you help people do.
I love it. Likewise, I'm grateful to be in this conversation with you and what you're doing to support others, just bringing conversations to life, because this is where things happen in conversations. So look forward to connecting with others who might be watching. I welcome the invite, wherever you're at, however I can help, or not. If it's just listening, great. So
listening is good too. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you next time.